Good evening, everyone. Jose J. Garcia, real estate investor, coach, and mentor. So, this evening, I want to talk about wholesaling and really just wholesaling. The whole focus behind trying to be the middle person, middleman, middle woman, and trying to wholesale. When you think about the whole wholesaling thing, it's like, there is a big responsibility behind it. And this can be where the mobile homes need to be moved or can stay in a certain area. And I think a lot of times wholesalers tend to dismiss that. They have this idea of it's not really for me. I'm kind of just trying to negotiate. I'm trying to just be the middle person. They're looking at it from a standpoint of I'm not really responsible, and that couldn't be any far from incorrect. When you are a wholesaler, if you come to me, for instance, and you say, "Hey, I have a mobile home, whatever you may have," I'm okay with dealing with wholesalers. I'm not going to try to bypass you, go over, none of the above. But I am going to treat you as the owner. Any questions that I would have typically for the owner, I'm holding you as responsible for. If there's anything in agreement that you and I, the wholesaler myself, are going to agree on certain terms and conditions, those same terms and conditions have to be in agreement between in this case, the wholesaler and the original seller. So there's a lot of things that can happen in between. And, that's when I talk about the whole wholesaling thing is, I never agreed to certain things that I'm almost certain my buyers are not going to be able to agree. It is easy to say, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do, etc. It's all yes to everything. Because when you go to your buyers, then you have to get them to agree to the same terms and conditions. Because remember, all you're doing is assigning the agreement over. If the mobile home has to be moved and it has to move within 20 days, what have you done to secure that somebody else can move that mobile home within 20 days? And a lot of that is where, again, wholesalers tend to, I'm not going to do excess amount of work, or I don't want to get involved with this or that. And again, that's where the incorrect happens. The problem is you are signing legal documents. I hope you're using the right documents for one, but you're signing real legal documents that if you do not abide by whatever you agree to, you can be taken to court. And then there's problems behind it. Now there's fees, fines, there's court costs, there's attorneys, there's something simple, a nice little profit can turn into a nightmare. We've seen that over and over. When we sign our agreements, when we put our paperwork together, in my mind, I'm always thinking this, how can I cover myself? It's always trying to cover yourself the most as possible. I was trying to bring an investor partner friend on here. Let's see if he can join us here in a few minutes. And the reason I wanted to bring him, if not, I'll just tell the story quickly towards the end, is because he's actually dealing with something similar. Apparently, he had not dealt with the situation where he tried to wholesale a mobile home and it kind of got sticky. The buyer could not move it, ended up not moving it within the time frame, and it just became a nightmare. And it had court, it had legal written all over it. So, luckily we're able to save out of that. No issues came from it. So, but again, it's kind of things that we see. So let me just go ahead and go down. And when he joins us, hopefully he will, we'll bring him on. So, as a wholesaler, you are in control. Stay in control at all times. You hear often about, I was trying to wholesale a deal, got cut out of it, and the seller started talking to the buyer, etc. Those kind of things do happen, unfortunately. Even to me, I will say it's never happened to me. I would be lying. I will say that the entire, career of mobile home investing, I've only had that happen 3 times. It was not, none of them felt good. Okay. And the way to tell if you're being cut out of a deal is, one thing is I never try to connect the seller and an owner. That's, if I'm not there, if I don't have boots on the ground or a middleman or something, because they're going to conversate. The buyer always has a tendency to want to ask, will you take less? But they're asking the wrong person. And in this case, they're asking the right person because that's the owner of the home. We don't lie about who owns the mobile. We always talk about more like a brokerage standpoint. Is that we're in control of this property, meaning the mobile home, and we are assigning it to the correct buyer, or we are brokering the home. Depends on which one it is. Okay, if you're a broker, then obviously use those terms. But even so, when they go out there, we tell them don't bother the residents. Just they're aware that you're coming by. Do a quick little walkthrough like you need to do, and then be on your way, and we can discuss further things after the fact. They start talking. The seller starts talking, the buyer starts talking, and then they start realizing, what are you there for? They quickly realize you're just the middleman. Now, obviously, if you're wholesaling, then you're obviously getting the mobile home for lesser than what you're going to sell it, to assign it to. So what happens then is obviously if the seller and the buyer start talking, well, I thought you wanted 7,000 or 10,000, whatever it may be. The seller's going to say, no, I was only getting 5,000 or 4,000. Eyebrows go up, right? Happens every time. Oh, well, Jay or Nick or whoever, says that it was 7,000 or 10,000, whatever. You see how now there's negotiation happening behind you. Okay, well, if I give you 6,000, can we just close directly? Well, that means more money to the seller and less money to the buyer. So that makes perfect sense in their world. Only there's no money for you. That's how you get cut out of a deal. And when neither of them stop texting you, you call them, they're not answering, you've been cut out of a deal. I'll get into that slightly onto saying, even though you had an agreement with them, with the seller, can you take them to court? They agreed to sell you the mobile home. You were obviously brokering it, wholesaling it, whatever you want to call it. Now they went behind your back and technically sold it for less, more, whatever, but they sold it without you included in it, meaning no fee to you. Can you take them to court? Yes. Okay. But I will say this is pick your battles. Taking somebody to court for something like that, you can absolutely do so. The forms that we use hold up in court. Okay. But now you're going to have to pay an attorney. Now you're going to have to pay court costs. Now you're going to have to set on the calendar. I mean, that could be weeks before you get somebody in there. And whether they see it their way, your way, whichever, it's just one of those things like, do I want to involve myself any more than already being lost out of the deal? It's aggravating, but it's more to me as in, what can I learn from it? What can I do different now that obviously maybe it'll keep us from doing the same thing again? And one of those things is always don't let the seller and the buyer connect together, period, ever. If you cannot be there in person, then maybe see how you can get somebody there. You could get a property manager from nearby. I use property managers as my boots on the ground everywhere. Now, there's certain areas where I don't have the best relationship with certain park operators, managers, etc. So I will get another property manager from down the street who manages another park to drive over there and conduct something like this for me. That could be an easy little payday, but again, it saves my deals. So it's always about learning, okay? Never letting them continue. So, but always be in control, bottom line. But being in control again means being responsible. So, it goes hand in hand. You are responsible if it needs to be moved or if it needs to be stayed. Keep that in mind. If you are going to move a mobile home, regardless of how soon they need it moved, and most people that need a mobile home moved is typically, they're going to tell you, I need it gone now. I need it gone yesterday. Okay, those are not realistic terms. I can't move a mobile home today or even next week for that matter. I can move it within 60 days. That should be a goal. And now, obviously, I'm not going to wait 60 days if I don't need to. I can typically get a mover in there 2-3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks tops, perhaps. But I want to give myself enough grace time just in case it rains. Life happens. Movers don't show up. All these things will happen sooner or later. So I want to prepare myself for that. And I would even go on to say in an extension of potential X amount more time if I need to extend it for whatever reasons. So again, some sellers would say, yes, that's okay. I need to go on sooner, but I'm only going to do so. But for those that say, no, I need to move it sooner, we don't do an agreement. And what ends up happening with those is typically they'll say, no, I'm going to find somebody else who can move it within a few days. That's fine. If that doesn't work out and you can wait longer, you can give us a call back. They all do, always do, because nobody's out there moving these mobile homes that quick. You have to have a very solid connection with the mover, and movers are backed up. It depends on certain areas of even Georgia or the U.S. There's less movers, they're more busy, and some movers just don't like to work. So anyway, let's keep going. Okay, there's ways to be the middleman. Some people have asked, well, can you just be the middleman and not actually put it under agreement so there's less responsibility? Again, the higher the risk, the higher the reward. I'll say that. You got to be smart about it. You got to educate yourself. But you can't say, I want to have at least as possible and try to get profits. It's one or the other. So something like that is like, yes, you can be the middleman and maybe perhaps get paid for a referral. Okay. Their referral may come or may not. But a referral is not going to make as much as you wholesaling it, because when you wholesale it, you take it for lower numbers and you mark it up whatever the market allows, or more if you want, if you can get it, right? And then you make those profits. That could be thousands. The most we've ever made on a wholesale deal was 7,000 on one individual mobile home. That was just an easy double wide transaction, and just the way that it worked out because the market allowed for us to market, and we could have marked it higher, really, but it was a quick sale. I mean, got it under contract, wholesale it that same day. That's what I like to do. And that's why I like to stick under lower numbers. If the market for a 3.2 single wide 95 model is 10,000, you can't go in with the same mentality of, okay, they're charging 10,000 or they're asking 10,000. I'm going to set my for 10K. Then your home is no different than any other ones. If I put it down for 9,000, maybe 8,500. Okay, there's a little more desire. Mine is cheaper, and that's what people want, right? All right, I don't see next. I'm going to tell his story. Yes. Bear with me. Two seconds. So he's been trying to log in live, and I've been sitting here ignoring it. Hang on, let's see if we can bring him on. Nick, I don't know if you can hear us. I hope you're not using a desktop. We had that issue Saturday mid morning when we talked about the silver and gold, but we had also a guest speaker on that. I can go back on our social media and rewatch that replay. But if you are, make sure you use a phone, because I'm sitting here tapping to let you into the call, and I don't see you. So I'm going to do it again. But 2 seconds, guys. I'm not going to spend too much time with it. You know, this Instagram, when you go live, it tends to operate very slow after the fact. Dropping comments or letting people in, it's just like it bogs Instagram. All right, yeah. Nick, I see you're not unable to join. So see if you can join us from a phone. I'm going to keep talking at this point, and then we'll bring you in towards the end. So see if you can make that happen. Okay. All right. In the event of a legal situation, let's say you do put a mobile home under agreement. And obviously, yeah, I see you, Nick, but I don't know if you're on a desktop. Typically, if you're on a desktop or a computer, you cannot go live on Instagram. See if you can join us on a phone. Let me see, because I'm trying. I'm trying to let you in, come in live, and it's not happening. I don't want to end this call. We're also live on Zoom in the background. So there we go.
All right.
Okay, I don't know what this. I was telling people here, it's like Instagram bogs down every time when you try to bring people in. So, but all right, we got you on here. So awesome, awesome. All right, Nick. So I'm talking about wholesaling, putting homes under contract agreement, trying to wholesale, and of course, issues that you run upon. So obviously, I've been talking with you this weekend, and there's an echo here. Let me see. Okay, let me see. I think I was echoing. Anyway, bringing you on because I want you to kind of share your story and some of what you had to deal with, obviously without getting too specific, too personal if you don't want. But if you don't mind, just for everybody watching on here, by the way, we're live on Zoom in the background. This is Nick Gunder. Nick is awesome. He's a mobile home investor, also out of Georgia. We've done some deals together. We network together. We typically found on the same areas. Obviously, great minds think alike. That's what I'm going to put it. But Nick, take it over. Tell us your story.
All right, guys. How y'all doing this evening? So the situation was we had a landowner that needed a mobile home move off the land because they was gonna build pretty soon. And we got it up under contract and find an end buyer to pretty much assign it to. Well, the end buyer ended up signing a moving agreement that they'll have the house moved in a certain amount of days. The house didn't get moved in a certain amount of days, and pretty much the agreement wasn't fulfilled. Um, so pretty much the situation just kind of started unraveling because the end buyer was thinking that they was obligated to a couple more days just because, but of course it didn't go that way because the landowner was pretty much ready to build that next week. So got a learning lesson on this one. Done did a ton of deals with mobile homes off of land, but first time this situation where someone didn't come through. And even though they agreed to move the mobile home, well, we realized that we still just couldn't dispose of the mobile home because technically it was somebody's property at that point. So we pretty much was gonna, follow the proper channels of, start charging lot rent until they can get the mobile home moved out. And of course, if they can't pay it, now you can go to step two with putting a lien against the mobile home. And then, if you want to take it to step three, you can go there and just file for abandonment of a mobile home on your property. But we didn't have to take it that far because everybody pretty much understood what was going to happen next. And we ended up coming to agreement. of pretty much just signing the title back over, and we end up selling it. And now the landowner's getting the home move off of their land by a mover, and we're good. The landowner's happy again.
So you did secure the mover. He's good to move it. Everything's.
I can't hear you, Jay.
There we go. I muted it. I think we're echoing. I said, so you did secure a mover and it all checked out.
Yes, it did.
Oh man, awesome. That was this morning. So yeah, Nick takes initiative. That's what it is. And you know, to add to that, Nick, it's like the problem is, you know, I'm sitting here talking to them. It's about the legal side. It's like, yeah, you know, lien could have been put on the mobile home. It could have gone after the buyer, but technically you're the middleman. So you're still in the picture as you don't look very good. So, you know, the landlord can say, well, I know you wholesale it off, but technically you're the one who put it on the agreement. So I'm coming after you. So you see how that problem can, you know, we can try to point to the buyer, which yes, he or she is responsible. But Nick, as the middleman, you know, if I was the landlord, I don't care who you sold it to or you gave it to. Nick, you're the one who put it on the agreement. So I'm coming after you. You can save those from time to time. Nick, mute yourself real quick. If you can. I think it's echoing a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why it's echoing, but it can get ugly. That can go into court. And again, you know, the landlord, I hope they understand. And that's why being transparent is huge. You know, I don't say I'm a wholesaler. What I typically tell a landlord, operator, whoever's selling something, a mobile home, it'll be more in the lines of, you know, I invest in these mobile homes daily. Most of these that we take them directly, we et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in the event that we are too busy, maybe we have overflow, I have many investors in our network that they can come in. We can assign the home to them, and then it's their responsibility to take over. So it lets them in. Obviously, I'm not talking about I'm marking it up. They don't need to know any of that. My numbers are my numbers. You know, they want it gone. They're selling it to me for a certain number. They're going to get that. That's all they need to know. But you're the middleman. Don't forget that. You know, one line in there that I can always talk about adding to it is always upon final due diligence. I don't like that because that means that's your way out. But things like this will happen. Okay. So if you're putting something like that as an agreement for those of you listening, as you know, that final due diligence could be as simple as I go back to the property, do a final little walkthrough and realize I can't move in a certain time, etc. I can't take it because of the final due diligence, you know, and that will hold up in court. But so Nick, you obviously you met with these people back and did they tell you why they couldn't move it?
No, they really didn't share that information, or at that point kind of guard up. Now trust was broken and the communication was very slim.
Yeah, that's usually the way it works. Now, you know, granted for you, that buyer, that wasn't a park operator, I hope.
No, it wasn't. If it was, it would have went way smoother than that.
Yeah, and that's typical as the end buyers. You know, a lot of people commit to many times. Again, they can do this and that and those. They have no way to do so. So you know, Nick, at any point, if you want to chime in on any of the above, I'm just covering a couple of the topics here because of the questions that are coming in. But you know, when I think about wholesaling, you know, like any deal of investment, no deal is the same, no investment is the same. You hear me say that over and over. I don't always just focus on the numbers. Okay, the numbers are great. Obviously, they have to make sense. That's number one. But I also think in my mind, how much time and effort is this going to take? And one thing that most real estate investors and mobile home investors who've been in this game long enough is those deals that make you the least are the hardest. They're always the hardest. Issues, somebody doesn't get along, somebody doesn't do this, doesn't show up. And I'm thinking, I done spent 3 weeks doing all this back to back, and I'm getting $1,000. Nick, have you ran into something like that?
Yes, I have, man. But those type of deals, I kind of take the emotion out of it, and it really doesn't bother me because in every deal I go into, I always leave with I'm going to solve a problem. So of course we all want to get paid for our time, but the amount that I get paid for my time, it really don't bother me if I can't get what I desire because I led with going in to solve the problem anyway. But yes, I have dealt with those situations where man, you put hours and days and weeks into it, and I mean, you come out of there with sometimes a $500 profit. I mean, And I did a lot of that in my earlier days of in this business. Because in your earlier days, a lot of times you're trying to hit home runs. And you're trying to hit home runs, but that time clock started ticking. And then that one is getting tighter, then you pretty much have to settle. So I kind of, over the time with experience, I kind of know what that sweet spot is, where it's time to kind of take what I can at that moment, or this right here might be the highest offer that I might get. Let me go and get this because I know nothing's coming after that. So it done got a lot better now with that.
That's a really good point he makes there on there. And you are a problem solver. As an entrepreneur, that's your definition. You problem solve the situations. Some pay more, some pay less. And yes, like Nick said in the beginning, you're kind of working on building that credibility as well. So a lot of times it can't just be as you coming in and thinking you're just going to land on elephants every time. You got to get those little rabbits from time to time. It's like this pays like 1,000, 2,000 here. I did used to have a coach that would say, Jay, if I'm going to make 5,000 on this deal, I'm not getting out of bed today. He was serious, but he'd been in business for 20 years. So, obviously your time becomes a little more important later on, but you've also built that credibility. If Nick was to put a deal on the contract right now with a new seller, buyer, whoever, they may ask Nick for some type of, I don't know, show me some credentials, something. Nick has a line of here's what I've done back to back to back. So he's built that and he's still working on that. So definitely starting out, that's a good point, niggas. Don't come in swinging thinking you got home runs coming every which way. It don't happen. And there are droughts. There are times throughout the year where it does not matter how much you brand, market, and advertise yourself. Nobody's selling. That's the way it looks like. And that's why I talk about also all the streams of income, because you're gonna have times when nobody's selling. Then what? Times like that, I typically see them right before summer. People trying to finish the school, the kids are in school, you got to pay attention to the market and the time of the year. But again, it's like you're trying to secure yourself. So any deal that you can get, do what Nick just said. If there's no other bigger offer, stop you trying to be greedy. Take it. That's a smart move. Get rid of it. Maybe I could have gotten an extra 500. Maybe you could have gotten nothing. So then you're in square zero. So anything to add to that, Nick?
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off of that. Since we're talking wholesaling, and most of the times, wholesaling for the newbies coming in, I just want to piggyback off of that. Any newbies that's getting into wholesaling, one thing I want you guys to remember when you first get into this, like we were just saying, no home runs. Try to set your goals with how many deals you can do a week, how many deals you can do within a month. Because I know for me, when I first started out, like I was saying, I tried home run. For now, I looked up at my clock, and it was like the 31st of the month, and I'm still on one deal. So kind of look at it like, okay, if I can get this deal done, I can make 3,000 and get out within 2 days. That's fine. Now you got 28 more days in the month to get, more deals. So look at it like that. Do not try to home run. Try to get as many deals done as possible within a month's time.
That's great advice. Absolutely. That just brought back a memory. I had one seller. He was an investor, and his mobile home was inside of a community. That guy paid probably 4 months worth of lot rent. He have just sold it to me back when I made the offer. He kept saying, "Oh, you're lowballing me. That's too. I can't take that low." He paid month after month for 4 months before he sold it to almost the same price I had offered him. Only now he was more out of pocket. So, holding on to that does create a job. And the more you're out there doing business, branding, marketing yourself, and people know about you, you're going to have an overflow at one point where you better move these deals. There's more coming, and you're sitting there trying to hold on one because of $1,000. That's what do they say? Pigs get slaughtered, and it's one of those. It just don't be greedy. Bottom line, go with it.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. Like you said, coming in with a strategy. First of all, figure out what your goals are for the month, what you're trying to make, and then break it down by the day. And I mean, because if you get a mobile home move like just starting out right every 3 days, I mean, you're doing great. Every 3 days with at least $3,000 profit every 3 days. I mean, you're doing fantastic. And that's the only way you can scale. Because like you said, Jay, as these leads come in, man, you can sit here and try to hit home runs on every lead. You burning up 2 weeks on one lead. You're going to get overwhelmed, and you're going to be close to that to quit because you're just going to get so overwhelmed. So, come in and approach this business, this wholesaling business with, okay, let me get as many in and many out as I can within the month. So you can train yourself early to scale. Because you don't want to, start focusing on 1 or 2 deals and not thinking about, okay, I need to get 20 deals in a month, and you just focusing on 2.
I've seen people focus on deals that weren't so great at deals, holding on to them and passing up on the better deals. So again, that's a good point too. Is goals. You got to have goals. And starting out, it's good to have motivation and feel like you're going to do phenomenal. You may get a little reality check on something like that as well. But definitely having a goal. When I did start the wholesale, and all I need to do is wholesale one a month, because that would be an extra 2 to 5,000. But then I started thinking, well, why can't I do more than one? Maybe I'll do 2 a month. Then I said, why can't I not do 1 a week? Now, of course, I try to do 1 every day, but some come through, some don't. So, but definitely setting goals, that's huge. Absolutely. You have to have some type of target you want to hit. Well, let's see if I have any questions on here. I don't see any at this time. This is every Sunday free coaching. I'm glad Nick was able to join us on here. I'm glad he resolved that issue. Could have ended up nasty in court, legal costs, and all kinds of stuff, but it looks like it worked out for the better. So, he took initiative though, and that's the thing too, is when you are trying to solve a problem, is you got to jump on it immediately. Well, I'm going to leave it till Monday. That may be a little too late at that point. So you got to take initiative and jump on there. Nick, any final encouragement, advice to newbies coming on?
Just take initiative. Be ambitious. You're gonna run into a ton of adversity out there. Just keep going. I remember when I first started, one of my biggest mistakes I did was I might have 1 deal a month, and the second month come in, I might have 7, and then I'm trying to cut the faucet off because I'm getting so overwhelmed. And then now when I cut the faucet off, I can't cut it back on. I'm back up going crazy. Like, okay, what it is? Then it comes back on, get overwhelmed again, trying to cut it back off. So you guys might run into that. So don't cut it off. If you have to team up with someone like us, right? Someone that's been doing this for a while now, and if you can't, keep up with the overflow, just sell your leads out as leads. At least you can make something out of them, or just JV with someone. Just try to figure out different alternatives to kind of relieve the stress off yourself. But yeah, that's about it. Just stay ambitious and keep going. Don't quit. We are in a recession right now. It's about to get deeper. There's opportunities out here with mobile home investing. So just keep your eyes and your ears open and keep a broad perspective. Because it's you make most of your money, and more opportunities always be in crisis. So try to control your emotions and keep your eyes and your ears open for opportunities, and just be blessed.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And yes, during recessions, that's what mobile homes boom. So you better be lined up and get those deals. So awesome. Thank you for joining me, Nick. A couple announcements here before we go. Nick, if you want to share your email on the chat box, that's up to you so people can connect. Also, if you do have an overflow, it's a good problem, by the way, but if you have an overflow and you need to connect with us, send us an email, send us a connection. I mean, I put mine on here as well. And, it's we can help you out. That's what we're here. We're all in the same thing we're all after the same thing, making money, obviously, profit together and win together. Mute yourself right there real quick, Nick, unless I don't know why there's an echo on this one tonight, but anyway, April 15th, I want to remind y'all the seats are getting more and more limited. We're only allowing, it was supposed to be 15, we're going up to 20 people, but there's less seats available now. Obviously, as time is trickling down. April 15th, we're going to be live in Griffin, Georgia. We're going to be showing, teaching, and guiding you how to do extended stays, not just using mobile homes, but campers. That's our new goal. We're working on something like this, always strategizing to create more value, more passive income, and obviously greater wealth. That's what we're after. So that's what we're going to be teaching April 15th. To send us an email if you want that link. We'll share it directly. And then Tuesday, do not forget that new deals being pitched in the evening. We posted a couple ads out there. A couple of posts on the social media is needing a sales agent. That's one opportunity for one more individual to come be part of GMHU as a sales agent. You have the opportunity to learn, to sell, and to grow within the company. So if anybody out there, and this is virtual, by the way, this not, I don't want you in my office. You do it from your home, from your office. You don't need to go anywhere. So that's that much better off for you, as there is no travel to your work. We'll teach you, we'll guide you. Obviously, we'll give you the deals to be able to sell, but we are in need of one sales agent at this time. So, Nick, thank you for joining me this evening. I know that story is going to help a lot of people. Definitely something to keep their eyes open, if nothing more. But like he said, stay focused and keep moving forward. Can't beat that. Thank you all for joining me this evening.